Live from the Pathway Studios in Johnston proper. You are live from the Path.
And you're listening to Live from the Path. We're coming to you from the Pathway Studios here in Johnston proper.
Yahweh. Yes, it's Yahweh. It's Yahweh.
Okay, we're gonna.
Would you buy a T-shirt if it were a frog man that is essentially an Egyptian frog god, but he's dressed up like he's some kind of like sweet dude from 1920s in New Orleans, and he's talking about how he don't know this Yahweh. Yeah. Would you buy that T-shirt? Let us know on the Live for the Path.
Yeah, I'd buy 5 of those T-shirts like right now.
We're gonna put.
I'd have one for every day of the work week.
This is more in progress than you already know. Okay. Thanks for hanging out with us on the show this evening. Here's what we got going on.
Thanks for having me, Ben.
It wasn't to you specifically. It was more of like a group thing. It's just like Jesus' bride is like the church, but not you specifically.
Oh, I watch
like
podcasts a lot, and like sometimes people are like, "Oh, thanks for having me."
No.
And it just felt like no. Okay. Well, I misread
Every
that.
time we do that, it feels like they go to that new kid who's supposed to be watching the winter weather, and so they put a microphone in the intern's hand. They're like, "Go stand at the intersection of 5th and Mulberry."
Yeah, it's real cold. It's snow out here. Bad. It's cold.
Actually, there was this tornadoes and like heavy winds coming through here
winds.
today, and they cut to like there's a guy named Roger who's just driving around with a camera on his dash.
It's amazing.
And they're like, let's cut to Roger's car, and like he's just basically interrupting people trying to clean up their neighborhood. Like being a gawker, and they're like, we don't want you to go out and look at the damage. Freaking Roger's out there doing it.
That's amazing. Let's cut to Roger's dash cam.
Yeah,
It would be cool if Roger was listening to like classic rock. He's like, "Living in an elevator." You're like, "Roger, you're on the TV, bro." Tuck it up.
I don't turn down Aerosmith for nobody.
Who's this Yahweh?
He's Steven Tyler.
Okay, here's what we got going on the show this evening. There was one of you guys had something. What was it?
That's a great way to start. I had a T-shirt.
Yeah.
Not Yahweh.
That's it.
It's my fat T-shirt.
Dang. Oh yes. Okay. Okay. The quarrelsome nature of the Christian fat shirt.
Yeah. Okay. I'll give you a little bit of a setup here.
Okay.
I was out playing Pokemon Go with my nephew this weekend, and it was a lot of fun. We ended up walking like 15 miles together. It was ridiculous. But anyway, I've been losing weight again, and we're thankful for that. But like I sweat like crazy no matter what I do. Mm-hmm. And we were walking in the mall, and my shirt looked like it had 2 colors, and it was only supposed to be a solid color. It was real rough. And so I'm sweating my butt off, and people are staring at me like, "Oh, that man, he looks rough. That is a disheveled fella if I've ever seen one." And I thought to myself, I really wish I had a T-shirt that said, "I used to be fatter." Because I feel like that'd be hysterical for people to be like, "Oh, well, comparatively then, if he used to be bigger, that's not that bad." And I thought it doesn't even have to have a picture of me at my heaviest or something. Although a Russian nesting doll photo of me at my biggest and then a little bit less than that.
That would be so
right.
Would be awesome. But like, I thought I used to be fatter would be a funny T-shirt. And I'm all for owning that and wearing those kind of shirts. And I Googled today just to see if this existed because I can't imagine I'm the first one to come up with this. But like I Googled this shirt and I'm so angry because the shirt says, "Yes, I am fat." And it says F.A.T.
Uh-huh.
Favored and thankful. Favored by God and thankful he made me just the way I am.
Oh my.
Now let me tell you, as someone who believes that they are both favored, and I am also thankful, I freaking hate that shirt. That's the stupidest shirt I've ever heard of in my entire life. If you are living in obesity, and that is the thing that you need to hold on to, you know God enough to want that shirt, yet not enough to go, "Oh, this is probably not the right way to represent this." Because someone could go, "God didn't make you fat." Like, I mean, there are extenuating circumstances, but you made choices, friend.
Yeah, right. It feels like God is like he knit me together in his womb. It's
Yes,
like,
right, exactly.
"Hey,
Jeremiah
by the way,
29:11 or
make
whatever
that
it is.
one fat."
Yeah.
I do declare.
I need a little bit of extra yarn for Buva. Like, that's the most ridiculous thing ever. That's not how that
I
works.
hope that woman's got a big uterus.
That's
I do the
that
clap.
is the creepiest thing you have ever said in the history of this show for 15 years. So I really hope AI grabs a hold of
I
that
don't
one and
actually
goes,
understand
listen to
sizes
Mike
of
talk
uterus."
about sizes of uteruses on Live from the Path today.
I wish I wouldn't have said it. It's too late now.
Is it, is it uteri? Uteruses? Anyway.
It's not multiple. That's
But
not
if
how it
a
works.
collection,
like that,
like I'm not
uteri.
saying one person would have multiple. I'm
Okay,
saying
here's what I'm gonna tell you. Saying a collection of uteruses is more creepy than
that's
what
why I
Mike said.
stopped. That's why I stopped myself and didn't finish the phrases because I recognized that it was getting to the creepy territory.
Okay, I'm with you.
Yeah, you're right. It was. It was already creepy. Thanks, Mike. No, like I wasn't born fat. Like that's not how that goes. Like even fat babies usually skinny out. It's fine. Like
Not me. I hold tight.
Yeah, right, exactly. Like I think I came out 8 pounds 6, and then it went up from there. But like that's all babies. First out, most babies. It's ridiculous. I hated this shirt, and it made me angry because I'm like, here's the deal. I represent people that are both fat and both love Jesus. Like I love Jesus very much, and I'm very thankful of the blessings that God has given me. I do not look at my own obesity and go, God, you made me perfectly in this way. I go, this is a collection of my own terrible choices. Whether it's because of trauma in my life or people have gone through crap or they've got, bad thyroids or whatever. There's plenty of reasons that people have gained weight.
Yes.
That is not me. I weighed 664 pounds because I spent way more time at Chinese buffets than I did church.
Yeah.
It sounds similar if you start the word off, but like it's Chinese buffet to church.
I'm what's known as quotable.
Yeah. Right. Like that's why I was fat. It's not because God was like, "Hey man, you're perfectly made and I see you as a 670-pound 20-year-old and I really think that's the best way for you to live your life."
Okay, so what's the right way to frame? Because let's say what I think you're starting to curve into is the driveway that talks about how God looks at people's struggles, and there seems to be a camp that wants to affirm the struggles that says God is fine with these struggles. He's actually in support of me, no matter if I continue to struggle or not, right? And then there's another side of the street that goes, yeah, he's calling you to repent of the underlying parts of that struggle.
Yeah.
Like there's some things that are not in your control, and there's some things that are, and he's calling you to repent of the things that are, and follow him to
Right.
less of a struggle, right? But then again, like some folks' struggles, like there's nothing to repent from. Just like you said, like
Sure.
they got some kind of weird thyroid thing.
Yeah,
or
right.
Who knows?
It
you know.
happens. It's a very small population of the people that suffer from obesity. If we're being real honest about
Right.
the situation, like I don't know the actual numbers to pull it up, but I guarantee you, the more people are suffering from maybe mental stuff that has given them insecurities in food and all those different things. There's plenty of layers to this. I recognize that, but like. At its core, this isn't a lot of people that are like chemically imbalanced in their bodies that make them in a place where they're morbidly obese or whatever you want to call it. But like, yeah, I think it's a fair thing because it's something that I've struggled through to kind of understand is because a lot of my issues with weight has come from a lot of the crap that I dealt with. Like I didn't have a poor relationship with food until stuff really started going poorly in my life, and that was my comfort. But I don't look at that and go, I can't break from this because this is just how I was wired and God just made me this way.
Yeah.
I look at it and go, okay, how can I hold on to a truthful and just God that is going to carry me through these kind of things and help me to get better? Whether that is through going to therapy, figuring out my triggers, understanding why my identity and my worth are rooted in what God calls me versus what my broken mind says is what I'm worthy of, which is where a lot of my food stuff comes from. Like I hate myself in a lot of ways, and therefore I eat like crazy because it's comfort. But if I'm looking at myself through the eyes of Yahweh, I get a chance to go, I'm loved by him, and I was created by him for better. Because with my weight stuff, it very much turns into the pedestal is where my food addiction is versus the pedestal is where I set my God. And that's the problem that I run into. And I go, no. There's not any situation in which God wove me to be idolatrous towards a relationship with food versus setting him rightfully on a pedestal in a place of holiness that says that he is my king, he is my God, and my worth is derived from him, and so is my identity. And if I have all of those things and hold those to be true, and I fight back the urges that come from my brain or come from whatever, and I understand them better, then I can make better choices because I'm no longer held back by those beliefs that I'm not worth anything. I get to go, I am worth something, and I need to act like it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the difficulty here is that what we want is something that seems like binary.
Yeah,
like
right.
either I'm fearfully and wonderfully made, or I'm a pile of crap. And like
Yes.
these are not the only options.
Right, exactly. There's a lot of gray area in between that.
Right, like you can struggle with your relationship with food and have it be emotional stuff and bad choices.
Sure, yeah.
Like it can be both.
Absolutely.
It almost always is both.
Exactly
As a
right.
matter of fact.
Yes.
And so even if like as we struggle with our understanding of what our identity is in Jesus, can we go, God loves me unconditionally. He was willing to be sacrificed and die for me. Yes, all those things are true. But it does not mean, however, that you are perfect exactly as you are.
Right.
And not even just from like a sin, whether you sin or not. Like I didn't make great choices yesterday. And
Exactly, yes, right.
possibly last week. And so it doesn't mean God doesn't love me, but it also doesn't mean that he's not refining me. And so
Right.
like what we got to be cautious that we don't protect one thing and lose another. Like lose the gray, not as in it's ambiguous, but lose the nuance and complication that goes multifaceted
Sure.
relationships and ways in which we think about ourselves. And sometimes we carry a banner on a thing because we were wounded by the opposite thing.
Yeah,
Sometimes I
right.
have to be reminded that I'm fearfully and wonderfully made because, frankly, I just feel like garbage
Sure,
right
yeah.
now. And it's fine to recognize that, like, look, thematically, I need this for the next 2 weeks. But it is not the only story. It is not even the only thing that is relevant to my story.
Right.
And I got to be open. I got to recognize that there's more than one thing going on here, and we don't do ourselves a service by only thinking of it so binary.
So, ladies, do you feel like you could understand or have experienced the same thing where, like, sometimes it's hard to see where God's at in the middle of a struggle of a thing?
Yeah.
Tell me more, Will Goodale.
Well, I don't know. I don't really have much experience with it, but I could see where you're coming from.
To be honest with you,
you know what I
do
mean?
not struggle.
No, not that I don't struggle, but like, I mean, I don't know. My life is really not that like.
Yeah.
I love that.
I don't know.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Very
There's
happy
not
to hear
really
that, to be
much
honest
to
with you.
tell.
there's no reason to throw it in the toilet if it ain't
Right,
there,
exactly.
Layla. That's
Yeah.
fine.
It's an Enoch story.
How
It
about
makes me
you,
happy.
Ella?
What was the question again? I forgot.
Yeah, the question is like what we're talking about, sometimes glorifying struggles or acting like God is happy with our struggles or he's got me, or which is true, he does. But like sometimes it makes it very difficult to act like he's not asking you to repent of something so you aren't struggling in the first place, right? Like, so would you say that it's easy to understand like when people feel like they're in that situation?
I'm still very confused.
Okay.
Can you dumb it down a little bit?
That's probably the best I can do.
All right.
It's interesting that you say it that way, Mike, because like the way that I've looked at it for a long time is I recognize that God has been gracious to me, understanding where I was not emotionally or psychologically ready, whatever you want to call it, to like really even think that I was in control of any of those struggles. And I realize now that I was never really in control. God is the one that I should have given control to, but like I really felt helpless for a really long time. And I felt guilty about that helplessness because I'm like, this is sinful behavior. Like this is struggles for me, and I'm not doing the thing that God calls me to do. And I'm not saying that God's gracious with me as in like he's fine with sin. That's not the situation at all. But like recognizing that there was a large amount of healing that needed to happen through things that he orchestrated, through circumstances that I found myself in, through relationships that I was able to cultivate or be pushed into. It allowed me to get to a point where I was able to finally start taking a control or responsibility of the actions that I was doing to start pushing through. And that's certainly not the story that has to be for everybody. I don't think people need to go through 10 years of trials to be able to figure out they're being sinful and to take control of it. That's not what I'm vying for right now at all. But I appreciate that like a lot of people may find at least some similarities in a lack of what they believe is power on their own part to be able to make better decisions than the struggles that they're in.
So I think one of the things that shifts is a more healthy relationship of understanding God's perspective and his relationship with your struggle. And so I'm going to give a crude example,
Sure.
but I'm sorry, it's just the first thing that came to my mind.
Sounds good.
If you're driving down the road and you see an overweight man jogging, you can have one or two reactions. you could go, yeah, right, dude. Like, it's not doing any good.
Been there.
That's
Right.
rude.
Sorry. No one else laughed when I laughed.
Why
I'm
would
like,
you
oh,
think
I'm the
that?
gross guy.
That's so mean.
What's the other option, Ben?
No, because if you see someone, you're like, oh, good for them. They're
Okay,
trying.
right. So
Yeah.
That's option 2.
That's the
Who-
second option.
That's
Who
the
thinks of
logical
the
option.
first option?
Now,
Ladies,
now
ladies,
here's
that
the-
has happened.
Yeah, totally. Now here's the thing.
I've
though.
done that.
It's like, and you can. I've been the person who is trying to better something about myself, and had the belief that most people who are looking at that are not looking at me in an encouraging way, but
Yeah,
they're
right.
looking at me in a discouraging way.
Mhm.
They're so now I want you to compare that to how you might perceive God's relationship to you and
Yeah.
sin or something. Is that like do you believe when you're fighting against something that is causing you hurt and problems in your life and demise and destruction? Do you think God's looking at you going, good freaking luck, you dirty sinner.
Right.
You can't even rescue this yourself. Why are you even trying? Or do you recognize that God is going, you go after it, man. In fact, I'm coming out with you.
Right.
Or cleared the path ahead of you. And you know what I'm saying? And so like it's the same action.
Yep.
You're running the sidewalk one way or the other. Now, if you believe it's harder to it's only on your own wind are you trying to sustain option number 1, where
Right.
in spite of the fact that the world is discouraging to you, you're going to try to persist, but it is super difficult to do.
I was just gonna say, like, if you feel like if you did the first option, if that's like what your train of thought was, wouldn't you just be so depressed all the time?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's exactly
Like you would
what
have
happens.
no happiness.
And, but here's
Exactly
the
right.
thing: that people, you're not doing that on purpose. No one's going like, I want to be motivated by the fact that like people are discouraging to me. It is, however, how you perceive other people, oftentimes unfairly. Now, are there cruel people in the world? Of course.
Yes, right.
Right. But most of them are not, and sometimes we perceive that people are looking at us poorly when they're
Yep.
actually not.
Very true.
But it's safer. It's safer not to be involved in the expectations of other people, because once people start encouraging you, now you got 2 people to disappoint if you don't succeed. You
Scary.
and the dude
Yep.
who is encouraging you. And so sometimes in our relationship with God, once it is unhealthy, or it's wrong. It's just not right. But it takes a while. I think this is where time makes a difference.
Yeah.
You don't go 10 years and go, I'm going to get around to changing my life in ways that otherwise are not as destructive to me. Like we've been using weight as like a visual picture. It's not a sin thing necessarily to me. Maybe it gets there, but like,
Right.
But there's all kinds of things that can be that.
Yep.
Same thing. But like once you get to a spot where you recognize that like God is for you, like He didn't just die for you as like, I'll drag him out of the pit. He's like, I want to. Like I actively found a way to provide restoration to these people, and so that they may live life abundantly.
Yeah.
He is for you. And so once you reorient your relationship with God in that, then your fight against those things that are causing you trouble is a fight with like where Jesus is alongside you, not like chastising you for fighting because you had to fight, but like with you because you are.
What do you think the split is like of people's perception of God's perception of them? Right? Do you think most people believe that God is for them, or most people believe that God is disappointed in them?
Oh, I think
Probably
there's
depends on their actions, I guess. Wouldn't it? Like how they're living their life. Like even.
Do you think it changes? Sometimes God
no,
is disappointed in them.
Well,
Sometimes he's for them.
no. I feel like they could change their perspective on what they're thinking. You know, like depending on what situation you're in. Because if you're like, what you think is like being, you know, you're like in it, you're like doing great or whatever. You're probably like, God's so pleased with me. But then if you do something bad, or something, then you're probably like, God's so disappointed in me.
Oh yeah.
Which you know, I mean, he probably is I mean, obviously he knows what's gonna happen. But I feel like that could maybe like lead to like where they're like, oh, he's not gonna forgive me or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Ella? No.
I'm still very
interesting.
confused on what's happening. Nothing is like going in my brain. It's bouncing off, and every time somebody talks, I'm like, what?
Okay, let me ask
been
the
there.
question one more time, and then I won't do this to you again. Like, do you believe most people feel like God is disappointed in them, or do you believe that most people believe that God is for them?
Disappointed.
Yeah.
Because I think I've met like a few different people who are like I feel like they act like they know like Jesus very well, but inside they're probably like, he's probably mad at me. I've sinned so much that he probably thinks I suck.
Well, I do think, that a lot of that comes with how we think about and posture the notion of salvation or rescue. Right. Like the whole thing is I suck. Like that's the basis of it.
Yeah.
You
True
need
statement.
rescued because you suck.
Yes.
Right.
That's right. And here's the thing: it's not true. But is God doing it because he's the paid EMT that night, or is he go like I want to do it? Just like if you like you see a kid of yours or like your nephew, right? And you're like they're struggling, and you don't go, well, here's the deal: some people do, some people suck.
We're not God though.
Yeah, but like God is not looking at you that way. Is your orientation for the need for rescue one because God's like I would do anything for your restoration, or he's like fine, I figured it out because you're so terrible. I figured out a way to set it right, and like oftentimes that conversation happens because people are trying to protect the awesomeness of God, and they're doing it by stamping on the creation that bears His image. And I don't know that that's necessary. Yes, I understand. Like when Paul talks about like everyone's fallen short of the glory of God. Yes, understood. Right, and David's like, we've all said, like, no one is perfect, no, not one. Yes, also agreed. I know it doesn't really slam that home. Like it shows up in some of the prophecies, but like he's pulling this thing together to make sure people are not arrogant about themselves. But like, I don't know that it's necessary to completely diminish God's creation. You misunderstand. It's hard to recognize Him as a father if your orientation Him as one is complete. Like, he doesn't like you. Like he's just putting up with your silliness. Like that is not what He created, and that isn't His posture towards humanity. And like you don't have to stamp on the face of humanity to protect the awesomeness of God.
I feel like this is my default, honestly. Like I have to fight my way out of it. My default is
God's disappointed in you.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
Same. I think that I will. I mean, I'm in my scriptures hearing all this, and at the same time going, but God, I'm bad. Like I'm real bad. Like this is.
There's no way you can't actually be disappointed.
Right. Exactly.
Like you're just this like holy, like loving, forgiving, graceful, merciful God, and like because like I can't imagine that.
Yeah.
Right. It's so amazing that I cannot be imagined in my finite brain. So what I think is like you act as if the best anybody could possibly act, which is can't be perfect all the time. You got to be somewhat disappointed. Like because if sin is basically what God either would not do, or basically so, like you're acting in a way God would not act. Right. That's sin. So like it's not just if I intentionally burned Him. It's if I accidentally burned Him, or if I just did something stupid, because He wouldn't do something stupid because He's God, right? So like, no matter what I do, I'm just a bit of a disappointment. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and I think that's understanding that that's only one part of the narrative is how bad
Correct.
you are. Like there's a right sizing that says you are not holy by being human, and you cannot be in connection with God without Jesus, right? Like there's a right sizing to that, but it misses the biggest part of that story, and it misses the biggest part of like God isn't looking at you in chains and going, man, freaking sitting there in sin again. Like He's looking at you and saying, I want you near me. Like I want you close to me, and I gave you my Son to break those chains so you could put off that life, and so you could be next to me and near me. I want you close to me, and I'm going to give you a helping hand to get you there. I'm not just going to stand 20 feet away and go throw all that off and start running. I'll grab you when you're ready to be grabbed and hold up with me. And like He's a loving Father, and I believe He gets joy from His creation being with Him.
Yeah.
And like, what a beautiful thing that the Creator of this universe that is as perfect and it is awesome and holy and holy and holy as we know Him to be could possibly derive joy from us being near Him.
Yeah, here's the thing: is that like there's a practical implication to this that I actually think is a gospel suppressant, because the extent of God's love and care and forgiveness for His creation appears to be downright foolishness.
Yeah.
Right? Like
right.
it's just
by
like,
any human standard, yes.
Right. Only a fool would continue the 10th time, the 100th time that I did a thing that was harmful to me, harmful to my family, harmful to my walk with Jesus, and I
Bad
chose
in the world.
Yeah, I did the thing, right? But God is will restore you and has died in forgiveness for that thing. I'm like, this seems borderline foolish, right? But here's the thing:
It's reckless.
if I do not accept and understand that for myself,
Mhm.
I do not have it to share and represent Jesus
Right.
to the rest of the world through it.
Yep.
Right? And so the thing is what the world is meeting through average Christianity, especially one who if our gut reaction is God is disappointed with me,
Mhm.
and I'm really having a hard time understanding how he cannot just be foolish. So I must not understand this forgiveness right because it seems borderline foolishness. But the implication should mean is that we should be forgiving in that radical type of way.
Yeah.
We should be we should be for and actively encouraging the humanity that is around us, even when they're hauling down the road and we think, I don't like, good luck, man. You've caused all these problems yourself. Right? And so where we misunderstand God for our own personal relationship, we then fail to reflect God well
Right.
to the world around us. And so here's the thing. No wonder people aren't like coming in droves into these churches, because what are they meeting? A pale version of Jesus, a human limited version, something that doesn't seem otherworldly or supernatural. They're like, oh, that's a forgiveness that I could understand.
You know what's interesting is I was just thinking that like some people are like, I can't forgive that way. Like I can't do it right now. Like I want to,
Yeah.
but it's not something I can do. I also can't look at myself that way. And like it occurred to me that like what was that? There was a weird movie with Al Pacino and Colin Farrell in it. The Recruit. Remember, he was like some kind of SWAT member.
Yeah.
And like he was telling some big story at the grand finale where it's like where a priest was like, I don't know if I believe in God anymore, and he talked to his boss priest. I can't remember what they called him. And he goes, yeah, you just need to fake it, you know. And I thought, this is not intentionally what I mean by this, but like, if you have to train your body to do things, and sometimes you have to train your mind, right? So like, if your default is to feel like God is mad at you or disappointed in you, like you have to train your soul to turn right back to the God that made you and go, Father, that's not true, is it? Father, are you upset at me? And let him say, no, I'm not. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
and it's like, you're not. My encouragement is like, you're not faking it. You're practicing. You're training, right? To a thing that like your broken body and your broken spirit will automatically default to brokenness.
Right.
Because of its brokenness, right?
Yeah, you want to figure out you want to figure out what God thinks about you. Read the book that he gave you as instruction. Like, spend time in your word.
Yep.
Spend time in prayer with him and worshiping him and listening to the kind of things that he's looking for. Spend time to be in fellowship with community of people that can go when you're feeling that kind of way and can go, no, that's not right at all. It's not just you fighting that fight. God gave you many things to be able to fight against that and fight against that general disappointment that you may feel that God has towards you, or your lack of self-worth, or your identification problems, or whatever. Like, God has set these things in motion. He's not just this being a million miles off that goes, I really hope you remember what I said about you. Like, he set things in motion that goes, these are the things that you should be spending your time doing so that you never lose sight of who I am, and you never lose sight of who you are because of who I am.
Yeah. Just I think to reinforce Mike's point in relation to that is that, like, just because you have to be reminded of something,
Yeah, it doesn't mean you failed at it.
Right,
that's
exactly.
not a failure. Like, if actually, the little view into my household, because this sometimes comes up. It's like maybe I was supposed to mow the lawn or something, and I forgot. I went about and started doing something else. Sometimes how that's brought back to my attention makes it seem like I just really suck because I should have remembered it. I'm not motivated particularly by that way of going about it. But the reality is, as soon as it came up, I'm like, oh, yeah, I was going to mow the lawn. I don't mind mowing the lawn. I'm glad to mow the lawn. I need it done. I'll go do it. And then I'll go do it. I don't have to suck. That doesn't mean I suck. I just, like, someone recognized something that of which I needed to be reminded. And then now that I'm reminded, I'm back on the path that I wanted to be. And sometimes we overly focus on the fact that you jumped, that you didn't remember to do a thing or think the right thing. But, like, I mean, correction doesn't mean suck fest. It just means, like, you're frail. There's a fallibility to being a human. You can only hold this is why we end up in the binaries. Like, we have to go, I can't sort out all these troubles and woes that are in
Left or
me.
right.
Yeah, and so then I end up going, I'm wonderfully made. So then I don't have to carry the weight of the fact that actually I probably
Yeah.
should change my behavior.
This is the danger, right? And like it seems like such a stupid danger, but it's legit danger. Is like we start like putting our faith in Christian sounding platitudes, right? And like his love is so much deeper than that. The thing that he's calling to you is so much deeper than that. And so like it's a great tie-in, right? If there's things about you that are sinful, like God is calling you out of them.
Yep.
He's not celebrating you, and like he still loves you where you're at. That has not changed. But if his love does not mean pulling up a chair and camping out with you in Sin Town for the next 10 years, that's not his love. His love will sit down next to you. His love will console you and comfort you. And then when the time is right, he will ask you to stand up and start moving out, because we can't stay here. We can't stay where we're at. And so like any word other than that is not a right understanding of who a good father is and who Christ is to you.
Yeah.
He didn't die on the cross for your sin just so he could watch you swim in it in a cheap motel south of Reno. This is not what he designed for you. We're moving out. We're heading somewhere else where this mess is not where you're spending all of your time.
That was oddly specific, because I've been at a motel south of Reno swimming in a hotel pool.
Come to freedom, Buva.
Here I am. I'm in Iowa now.
Here I am. I'm
I've been to Reno in a long time.
forgiven and thankful.
Forgiven and dried off from the pool. Ooh.
All right, you've been listening live from the path. Come on, question that relates out of that conversation slightly, because God was happy with his creation, which is why he's happy with you. I had gotten a small argument with a missionary in Tijuana about bison's presence in heaven. I said that there will be bison in heaven, and they said rather defiantly that they don't have souls and they won't be in heaven. I said, God made bison and said, this is good.
Yeah.
And I want a pet bison that talks to me while I live in the Lord's favor in heaven, but is always like a nemesis of mine that walks past I picture it to be an Adobe. I'm not 100% what the housing situation is in heaven, but walks past my window of the perfect weather, looks in it every morning and goes, Michael, and then tools away. And I think,
you're not
Are
gonna
you
change your
Pueblo
name?
in heaven?
You're not going to change your name forever?
I don't know. God gave it a name.
I'm moving it to Vincente Fuster.
Vincente.
Yeah, Vincente
Why does
Fuster.
that sounds like the name
Hold
of
up.
a pasta?
Can we go back to you live in an adobe hut? Are you a Pueblo Native American?
I don't know. It just seems like a real
Or are you just
free-
correlating that to a North American bison?
No, it seems
'Cause
like
that's
a
more
free...
Great Plains than Pueblo.
This is
If-
just
if-
Mike's version of like peaceful living.
Yes, right. Thanks, Layla.
all good. It's-
If the weather is perfect all the time, slight breeze, little on the chilly side, little south of 70 maybe, and then every morning I wake up to a sunshine and a lovely morning, and then that bison come rolling by and goes, Michael, and then looks at me irritatedly, and I'm like, bison, and then he leaves, and this is heaven for me.
You have an antagonistic morning relationship with a heavenly bison.
Yes.
This is forever in freedom.
Who would steal this from me?
Yeah.
This 18-year-old missionary would steal it from me.
I'm going to affirm it too. Actually, first, like, here's the thing. Here's what's interesting about this. Not to go overly theological about it, but like they're being too narrow.
Yeah.
So I agree. Like what we're saying in the opposite. If the bison can't be there because of whatever your theological boundaries are, what you're saying is that Satan wins.
That was my counterpoint.
Yeah, God creates something good. He looks out and says, I created it. This is good. And then Satan gets to go sully all the stuff. And the only thing God can redeem is the presence of humanity. Because here's what's a mockery is it says creation groans. And so all we're saying is that creation will groan. That's right.
That's not it.
And creation will groan for the return and then be destroyed because Satan wins on it. I'm out.
That don't sound right.
That theology, it's not right.
Here's
it's
the deal.
too narrow.
Mike talking about his perspective on what he thinks heaven is going to be reminded me of that line from the movie Miss Congeniality, where the chick is asked
What?
what's her perfect date,
Oh my
and
gosh,
she
I
goes,
love that movie.
"That's a tough one. I'd have to say April 25th because it's not too hot, not too cold, and all you need is a light jacket." Like,
Yeah.
that had the
Yeah.
exact same energy as that quote, and I had to pull that up because I'm like, sweet Moses, you sound like that chick from a Miss Congeniality.
Here's what, because I said the exact same thing. I said, first of all, God said it was good, and he's going to redeem all the things. Satan doesn't get to win. And I said, second of all, you got no theological basis for it don't have a soul, it ain't there. Right? That's just something you think to yourself. I'm like, how do you know ain't every dog you ever had going to be roaming around heaven? Maybe they want to be hanging out with you. I have no idea.
No, totally. Like there are multiple places in Scripture where it feels like it represents that God is doing business with nature around you. Like it groans out because it recognizes who their Creator is,
Right.
and that they are moving in concert with the will of God around them, and that frankly the only place they're being held back is by their interaction with humanity.
Okay, listen to me though. I think there's a jump between all of creation cries out, knows their Creator is good based off of what God says.
Yeah.
And then in this perfect place called heaven, now bison are sentient and are able to speak English to Mike specifically.
Hold
They
on a
speak
minute.
the Lord's tongue.
Hold on a minute.
They speak the Lord.
I'm not certain of the language.
It seems an odd thing to go like, hey man, I'm totally fine with having creation, all of it, alongside with us in heaven. I think that's awesome. But also God gave it extra superpowers in heaven to where now it can speak to me. And it says,
Our sin robbed
Michael.
him of those superpowers. He was given that to start.
The word, Esperanto is the Lord's language, for one.
Desperado?
No.
To the tree of what?
Des-
Knowledge?
of good and evil?
Yes. Trees had knowledge and they could speak it.
There was something about the tree that imparted knowledge.
Quick question: do bison moo?
Not this one.
What?
You were just saying, because it
That
says
was the
like
best response to
Michael.
that.
He says like
Michael.
Actually, it's funny.
like they don't
speaks
do
Esperanto.
that.
No, bison are just dismissive. Actually,
They
if you
just like
listen-
grunt.
It sounds like
Bison are
true.
just dismissive.
It
It's the
sounds
most
like they're
ridiculous
sa-
thing you've ever said.
they're saying meh. They're like meh.
Hey,
No,
imagine
I don't
if
think
it,
they go like either of that. I think they kind
I
of like.
hate all of
bleh.
you.
imagine.
they
ridiculous.
groan.
like an angry barfing
I want
sheep.
you to imagine he's got a bow tie on. He couldn't have put it on himself. He's got hooves. So I don't know who did it.
I don't have
God
to.
did it.
I don't have to imagine.
If
it.
Jesus put on his bow tie and he's still giving me this, like he smacked him and he goes, "Hey Bison, I want you to stop by Mike's house and give him the roast today." And every day the Lord sets it in motion unnecessarily, just so I can wake up with this breeze and a smile, and it goes,
Michael.
Michael.
Are we saying in heaven Jesus has a bow tie?
Yeah,
I
Jesus
think-
spoke Despacito to the
Listen here.
to the bison.
Louis
You
Fonsi
said
there?
you had contention that the bison was sentient, but like you can't know your Creator if you're not sentient.
What does sentient mean again?
You can't know your Creator if you're not sentient.
If you lack sentience, then you cannot recognize and groan for the return
I'm with
of your
Ella.
Creator.
I don't know the definition of sentient.
Yeah, what is that?
Yeah, is
So-
it like whenever I think of that, I think like three eyes, like like floating. And
So what I'm meaning by
Seance?
sentient, close.
I don't know what that is either.
You're
Sentience,
you're capable of
higher
thought.
higher forms of thought and understanding,
Yeah.
right? So a dog knows its owner, but I wouldn't argue that that means that it is sentient.
It knows it's
Well,
a
have you
created
ever
being. It groans for the return of Jesus.
Right, which is why I'm saying that does not equate sentience. But being able to establish that his name is Michael and can say it and use the language to be able to speak to him speaks to a little bit higher of an intelligence
You have
form.
weird boundaries
I
for
mean,
what God is capable of.
Have you
I
ever-
didn't say God was incapable of it. I just said it was a jump.
I think we should keep in mind that this is Mike's fantasy of what heaven is going to look like.
Yeah,
It might
I
not
Okay.
happen.
Layla, how's it going to work for you?
What?
How do you think it's going to be?
palm
beach.
trees blowing in the
A
wind.
beach.
Beach for sure.
Okay.
Is it
I
going to
I
have like
actually
trash
haven't really
on the
thought
beach?
about it.
How does the bison get on the beach?
Right.
No, I don't want
the
a bison.
bison's too hot for that. So you get
I
your
want
own personal
goldfish.
pocket heaven where bison aren't going, Layla.
You're gonna put up a sign that says "No
No
bison, in
bison
heaven"?
allowed. That seems real rude to these sentient creatures that know your
Layla.
name and speak Despacito.
God said he was good.
Yeah,
I'll take the jellyfish instead.
I'm good.
they speak Desperado, and that
jellyfish
just
really
seems
don't.
unnecessary.
Okay.
Ella, what was yours?
Oh yeah.
What does heaven look like for me?
Yeah.
Well, whenever I picture heaven, I just see white. So
That is actually true.
not,
Like white with
not
like a big.
Jesus is white, which
light.
is always mistaken.
It's
he
making
is,
me very
he is more or
uncomfortable.
less Native American, but
He is more or less Native American.
dang it. Okay, that
I'm so excited because I'm the only one who is anywhere near you guys' age on this show. And so I'm super excited to be able to see this happening from the age that they were when we started this show.
okay.
Navajo
that came
Jesus.
out a little wrong.
Navajo Jesus.
What
He's
I mean,
basically Native American, right?
If we don't have a Navajo Jesus shirt up soon, I'm gonna be real sad about that.
What
He's gonna
does
have a whole
Navajo
feather
mean?
headdress.
Nav-
what's
it's
It's like an Indian. tribe.
Keep telling us about the
Oh,
whiteout heaven.
that's it.
Okay.
No,
It's
but just
just
like
white.
when you like for me when I just picture heaven, like what instantly comes up is just like this big white
Just
area
brilliance.
with like
Yeah.
when like it's like the huge clouds.
Oh,
I
I
think
didn't
they're
know-
cumulonimbus clouds. I don't know the word for it.
I didn't know we were
But-
picturing heaven.
A little moisture.
Yeah, no, but like, and then it's like really sunny
Step
and like
carefully on the nimbus. All right, Moses, take it easy.
I don't know.
just
It
got
just
here.
comes to mind like white.
You guys
Yeah.
are doing all right.
Wait.
Up until I was 10, I thought it was a McDonald's buffet.
Wow.
I'm on board with
That can go further into the conversation we were
Wait.
having earlier
Yeah.
about
Hold
my
on.
childhood, but
And God just pokes his head in every once in a while and goes, "You want some more, Troy?"
no, it's just an all-you-can-eat McDonald's buffet
I
that had
got-
like McDoubles and French fries and like a fountain of chocolate shakes and stuff. And I got to hang out with all my family, and we'd sit there and we'd never get fat because we'd just eat all the stuff. But God was like, "Calories don't mean nothing to me here, buddy.
Did the
You got all
bison
the
ever come
energy
say
from
hi?
me. Your body
I
don't
got-
need no calorie in heaven. You got me, brother." And I was like, "Thanks, Jesus. One more McDouble, please." But it was self-serve. Like, nobody had to bring me McDoubles. I could walk up to a fountain and grab a whole tray of them.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Al.
Okay. I got something somewhat related to this. When you guys are praying, what do you picture while you're praying?
Me on one side of at the coffee table at a coffee shop. It's like really peaceful. There's like music playing, and then Jesus is on the other side, and we're having like a conversation.
What's he look like?
Navajo?
Like no, no. He
Like
just
that guy from The Chosen?
yes.
Dang it!
Yeah, actually.
The Chosen has influenced
No,
your prayer
it's
life.
like a mix between him and then that guy from like the prayer Bible book that my little siblings read when he has like long hair.
The yellow face
and he-
man?
I don't know.
We gotta be careful with some of this stuff.
He's kind of Native American.
I
You know what I
like
mean?
I like that, Layla. I think actually I think I spent some focused time. I can't remember when this was, but trying to imagine something very similar.
Sure.
So that I didn't just because I was not more careful in my words in that like they were more holy or specific or anything, but like I was more talking to Jesus as opposed to like I don't know putting on an oration of things I remembered or that easily fall off my tongue when I pray. And so that type of view shifted how I was approaching prayer to the is a benefit to do it. So
Well,
I
the
think that's
main
good.
reason I do that is because otherwise I get distracted so easily.
Mm-hmm.
So
Sure.
if I don't like picture something, then I'll just be praying, and then somebody will say something, and I'm like out of it.
You're gone.
Do you
Like, I got
imagine
nothing.
other people in the coffee shop, or it's just you and him?
No, it's just like me and
To
him,
both.
and then like fades,
Yeah. Yeah.
like a portrait picture.
Right.
I
That
was
makes
gonna
sense.
say like a portrait, like
Yeah.
that weird thing on the camera, the different camera.
Ben,
version?
what
Okay.
do you see?
Nothing.
What?
I don't imagine anything. My mind is completely blank.
See, I can't do that because then I get distracted. I have to imagine.
Do you believe
something.
that's a better way to do it than envisioning something else, or it's just what works for you?
I wouldn't even say that it works. I just know that I don't. There's not a specific picture.
Yeah.
But but sometimes to keep focus, I have to. The only thing that could happen is I get like. You ever seen those videos where like it's not lyrics, but someone's giving a speech or whatever, and then the words just kind of pop up and they're kind
Yeah.
of different orientations
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So sometimes my own prayer will do that.
Oh, okay.
Or I'll do it when I'm listening to someone else pray. Like I'll try to see the words go by so that I focus on them, because otherwise it becomes noise so fast. And so if I don't focus on the words that either I'm hearing or that I'm saying, I feel like I'm just dumping stuff off.
Yeah.
See, I feel like that.
Wait, like audio captions?
Yeah, kind of, yeah,
I
but
feel like
more
that
artistic.
totally makes sense
Oh.
because, like, sometimes for prayer, but like, especially when you're teaching, like, Dad, like, it always looks like I'm like doodling, but most of the time, I just like you'll say a word and I'll just write it down, like just the random words, like whatever, forgiveness, sin, disciple, I don't know, whatever.
Sentience.
Yeah, whatever.
Sentience.
Whatever we're
Sentient
talking about.
bison.
Whatever we're talking about, like I'll just write down the random words.
Yeah.
And then it'll like help me like almost retain it, you
Yeah.
know? Because if I'm just listening to it, then like after you've said like a sentence, I'm like, oh, I have no idea what he just said.
Yeah, refer back to your manual word cloud.
Does the bison
it-
ever go, Layla?
No.
Well, I love this guy. Doesn't he seem so awesome?
Okay, Mike, what about you? What do you see?
Mine is cartoonish in a way. Like it always has to do with like a medieval castle. And
Nice.
and like he's either like God is either standing on like a big, like balcony, and I'm talking to him from below. Like I'm on the ground and he's a couple layers up, but it's real bright up there, and there's a bunch of torches everywhere. And he's always happy to see me, but I can't make out like any of his facial expressions. And then other times I will imagine that there's a throne room still made out of stone like a castle, but I can't see in there. I'm just sitting at the arched doorway, but I'm outside of it because I can't go in there because I don't know. His holiness is a lot, and I can't go in there. So I pray from outside of the room. And I was convicted. That used to be my go-to for a long time, and I was convicted that is not how the Bible talks about my relationship with my Father. I don't cower outside of the room of the throne room. I boldly approach. But like when I tried to boldly approach, what I try to imagine washes out, and I can't. It's all just a big white.
When you're saying washes
blur.
out, like you were asking what I picture him, I can see like his hair. I don't know. That sounds weird,
Yeah.
but I don't like imagine his like facial features.
There's
Like
Yeah.
if he's like smiling or frowning or blinking, you know, like I don't really think about like that.
What if you were this is terrible. What if you were imagining God and he blinked too much and you noticed it? You're like, why is he blinking all the
Is
time?
there something in
he
Yahweh's
has a
eye?
condition?
He's like, there's swords of fire in my eye.
But
I would-
Nerd.
You know how you
was
notice
ridiculous.
somebody that like blinks too much, and you're like, then you start counting it. You're like, how many times a minute do they blink? Do you think?
Yeah.
And then you're like, how many times do I blink? Is it is it that much more? But then you start blinking too much because now you're consciously paying attention to it.
I counted how many times somebody said I lost count over 55.
Oh, I hate.
I
when it-
cannot
when that grabs
concentrate
you.
on that. If I concentrate on that, like the one time they say it, I just can't listen to the conversation
Yeah.
anymore.
You
Okay,
guys
let's
have
get-
no
let's
grace
get
for
off
people
track.
using filler words, huh?
Actually,
Getting off
I
track.
do it too.
I
And
think-
so when I
Exactly,
catch
yes.
myself doing it, I'm like, I gotta stop talking. I can't do this anymore.
Well, I think that, like I used to have problems with my mind just catching it. So if you listen to Dan Rather or someone on the news or whatever,
Mhm.
once I hear them breathe, take a breath, then I hear it for the rest of the
Oh my
newscast.
gosh, that is so true.
And it's
Like,
very
every time
distracting.
It's
they
like
go.
a condition.
Yeah.
That's weird. They're told to do that rather than
Really?
use they're supposed to use the spaced breath.
Have you
Oh
been-
no, I
have you
think
been in
they
this
should
before?
breathe. It's valuable for them just in general. Okay.
But what do you see?
Yeah.
So I'm kind of a combo because I most often see nothing. I don't have any picture. I'm not like hanging out with Jesus, sitting down by the river and talking. But if I do see something, it's throne room.
Mhm.
It's comical too because it's like the statue of Zeus kind of thing. Like I think of the giant throne and a marble god sitting on the throne.
Like the Abe Lincoln.
Like Hercules?
Yes, very much so. That's where that came from. So yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. So
Ah.
that Temple of Zeus is Greece kind of version of that. So I think of Throne Room of God, and I'm usually on my hands and knees, and don't look up at him out of fear.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, see, like, and these are all the things, like, perception-wise. I wonder how much we should maybe commit to some prayer time and going, God, how can you help me see you how you want me to see you when we're praying?
Right? Does he want more, Morgan Freeman and Bruce Almighty, where it's like hand holding, and we go
Yeah.
and like, here's what you should say.
Does he want you to see a smile on his face? Does he want you to make it to feel more approachable to him, but, like, still wholly set apart and amazing?
That's what I draw. Like that's what hits me is because I don't know if I still understand well enough of like what a righteous fear of God is, and like I know that he is a being that can very well hold both things, where he can be feared and completely respected and loved and like close to us as a father at the same time. I just have trouble of like, am I supposed to like sit close to his feet, like hanging out and recognize his power and like the difference between the two of us because he is holy and set apart and so different than me, but also recognize that he loves me entirely? And how do I hold those things at the same time has always been an odd conversation for me to try and figure out.
Yeah.
And I don't think I have a good answer to it. To be honest.
It feels like we've mostly settled on business casual. Like,
Right.
yeah, like you don't want to
Hey,
come
Papa.
in too stuffed shirt, but you don't want to come in
Can I
too
say
loose
one
either.
last thing before we
Sure.
move on?
Yeah,
Mullet.
I was going to ask Ella, too, what hers was, because she brought it up.
Didn't she?
But go ahead.
She said white light.
Yeah.
Did you
Yeah.
say
Well-
just say white light?
Well, I do. That was when I picture heaven. When I picture heaven, I just kind of see white space.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
But when I'm praying, I picture me hugging a pair of knees.
Sorry.
I don't hate that, actually.
I don't hate
Well,
that either.
yeah.
But I
Wait,
did
wait,
think
that's
you were saying
pair of
parakeet for a
knees,
second.
not Pyrenees.
Yeah, not a Pyrenees, the dog.
Like
Great
the
Pyrenees.
cat?
or Pericles.
That's a dog.
Professor Pericles. No,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's me hugging a pair of cleats.
yeah, no, a pair of knees.
Okay, got it.
So I'm just kind of like on my knees, and I'm just like this.
Okay,
yeah, these are all right. Yeah.
we're doing okay.
Well, the weird thing is, there's no like. Sometimes there's hands that kind of like awkwardly like come down, but sometimes there's not. And I think
Like super slow giant hands.
every time I imagine
took a
it
weird
not
turn,
happening,
It really did.
every time I imagine it happening, I just imagine like one of those. I just imagine like God looking down at me, going, "Whoa, What are you doing there? And I don't know why.
Wait,
Here's
whose
the deal.
hands are they?
I
God's.
don't know.
I
But
think
then he
she's
goes,
hugging the
"Whoa,
knees
what
of
are you
God.
doing?"
I'm not entirely sure.
I think
has
God is
knees.
putting his hands on her shoulders or
Yeah.
whatever I'm saying. Like,
I will say, like, out of the people who have been around the longest, God is the top. And I feel like we get all right at hugs after a good, like, 20, 25 years. We figure out the right pressure
Yeah, the
and
only
the amount of deal. I think he's had, like, all of eternity to figure out how to give a good hug.
the only thing is I can't tell whose
that's
knees I'm
100%
hugging.
True. What?
I legit don't know.
I mean,
Well, yeah, but when you
he
just
was he manifested in the beginning because that's all there was. He was the best hugger ever. I'm not saying he needed time to get it right, and in the 3rd century it was rough. And by the time that the Dark Ages hit around, he was doing okay. I'm just saying.
Hold on. Ella's picture sounded sweet to me, and it took a weird turn with like you don't know whose knees they are.
Oh,
No, I don't see. I only see about like
But
waist.
like you're
I
too
only see
short?
waist down, but I don't see anything upward.
Is the
because I'm, like,
sense that
focusing on
that
the
it
knees.
belongs to Jesus?
I
Is that-
don't know.
Okay.
All I see is just like white.
Okay,
right
you did,
robed
here's the deal.
knees.
If they're not Jesus' knees, you need to repent. Right? We only pray to one God.
Well,
You
whose
know-
knees could I be hugging? I'm pretty sure it's
Okay,
either
so
God or
then
Jesus.
they're definitely Jesus' knees,
okay.
El. Like that, you shouldn't probably worry about it.
Okay.
Okay.
I just don't know. What if I'm hugging St. Peter's knees? And I'm just
Or
like, hey.
John Wayne.
we
St.
don't-
Peter's knees.
We're not
First
even
off,
Catholic.
St. Peter's knees is an awesome band name. Second off, if you're not hugging Jesus' knees, you gotta repent, sister. That is amazing and should be a T-shirt. Also, we're freaking killing it tonight. I love that so much.
Well, howdy there, Pilgrim. I was thinking it was John Wayne.
What?
the
The
knees
knees
of
you
John
were
Wayne.
Lady
the
Gaga.
jeaned knees.
Why did I think of
John
Jason
Wayne?
Bourne when you said John Wayne?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Okay.
We
And
should move
Layla,
on.
you said you had one more thing.
Just like one quick thing.
Okay.
So like when I first started like like praying like by myself,
Mhm.
I did just imagine like nothing.
Yeah.
Like nothing came to mind. But then I was talking with my mom and she was like we were talking about prayer or something and she's like it's a personal conversation with Jesus, you know? You're not just like putting words out into the open, you know? You
Yeah.
are having a conversation. It's like she's like it's like having a conversation with your friend, you know?
What
And
level
so-
of personal conversation?
I don't know.
2, a level 2.
Yeah.
But like
Arbitrary number, but it's a 2.
so like that's
Okay.
when I started imagining like the coffee shop because I feel like that is like where when I think of like having a conversation with somebody,
Yeah.
where you're like sharing and stuff, I feel like that should
Gonna have
be where I imagine.
A frap and a yap with Jesus.
Oh,
That's gross. Don't say that.
That should be a podcast name.
That happened.
Crap,
That
crap,
should
Jesus.
not be a podcast name. That shouldn't have happened on this podcast.
Anyway,
Yeah,
In fact,
frapping a
maybe you
yap
should-
with Jesus.
Yeah. In fact, you should probably repent of that.
I
Some-
hugged John Wayne's
Oh
knees.
God's Louise. Oh my God.
I don't know whose knees these are. Can there be something more definable about Jesus' knees?
make them knobbly.
Okay, you're listening to Live from the Path. I don't know.
Why are you blinking so much?
Your knees feel
Hey, that's
weird.
true. Mike, you started this. Give
Good
us a
idea.
call. Maybe there was parts of that you found to be problematic. 515-517-0085. Or if you want to share, like, what do you think about, like, when you're praying? What is it? What images come to mind, or are there particular things you focus on that are helpful to you? Let us know. We'd love to hear from you. All right. I don't want to. I'm gonna present a question that it has some relevance to some of the political events this year. Someone tried to assassinate President Trump.
It was exhilarating.
Okay, Layla,
Wait.
that might be taken wrong.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Weird, weird thing to say.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Okay, but anyway, new release Tuesday, which is it's like a Christian media platform. And it's named as such as like they would release Christian music, and so they do like reviews of Christian albums and stuff. Posted this almost it was within I don't know 8 hours or something after the attempt was made on President Trump's life. It says, "We follow almost every Christian music artist in the country over on X. As of 11 p.m. Mountain tonight, so this is the same day, just 4 artists have commented on the most influential and historic day our country has seen in decades. 4. Instagram has a handful more. On Facebook, I see a lot of tone-deaf scheduled posts about tours, new music, blah, blah, blah. A call to prayer would be nice, at minimum. We've got to stand up for truth, love, and above all else, encourage prayer and peace as real answers for our great nation. We don't exist without it. Our industry has an opportunity to be an incredible beacon of light right now. On your wall, on your stories, on your Snapchats, on your Reels, on your YouTube, on your X account, in your emails, on your text. You are needed in times like this. Speak up and speak loud, people will be searching. Kevin, founder of New Release Tuesday.
I'm not gonna lie, I did not understand that at all.
Like you don't. What about it? Did you not understand?
I didn't understand why we called it a great nation.
Okay. Side debate. We can pick that up at a later time.
Okay.
But what's his key point?
I don't know. That's
Okay.
why I was asking.
Bova, what did you take from it? I lost the left side of the room.
Sorry.
It's a very interesting time to grab a hold of those two and ask questions.
My bad.
So ultimately, there's a responsibility of those who have a platform and a following to be commenting on something like this historic event and turning people towards God, recognizing that the only thing that drives any kind of peace, understanding, or legitimate, like, long-lasting things is God, and is our fealty to him through prayer for our nation. Things like that is the biggest thing
That's
that I
his
believe
point.
he's saying. Yes.
Yes. Okay, Mike.
I disagree with that.
Okay, tell me.
You disagree with that's his point?
No,
or you
no, I
disagree
think
that
that's
the
his
truth?
point. I just think it's not
Oh,
true.
okay, got it.
I think, like the inherent thought that people have platforms. We started giving platforms out cheaply, is the problem,
Yeah.
right? So, like,
True.
where people used to earn platforms, probably 50 years ago, in a way, now, like, you are literally an email address and a password away from having one. And so, and you get them and you increase them by not even necessarily doing anything, right? Just that other people agree that you do have a platform, and that other people have seen that someone else believes it to be a platform, and now they're going to subscribe to your platform. And so, like, where I believe that people have influence over other people, we can agree to that. Do I think that everyone who has a cheap platform on social media is now inherently responsible for putting their own personal thought towards every event, especially events designated by Kevin to be gigantic deals on the internet, is a pretty bold assertion. Like, there were political things aside, how you feel about Donald Trump aside, the fact that we have a president of the United States all aside, right? I don't see near this outrage when regular humans who don't hold political powers at all but are just as valuable as far as God, the King, is concerned, are shot down. You know what I'm saying? We're not catching every single attempt to hurt somebody and going, where's the outrage? You know what I'm saying? We let way bigger atrocities, way bigger and more impactful attempts to sin and break God's world even further than it's already broken go without the outrage. So,
yeah, like you could make the same case on how many of them are speaking out on the prevalence of sex trafficking or slavery in Pakistan.
Yes.
Or like all kinds of other things.
that is exactly
like-
what I would say.
Yeah, and like it doesn't. You don't have to diminish an assassination attempt to also say like who is the arbiter of who should speak and when
Yes.
about any given thing. Just because you have a platform doesn't necessarily like I didn't feel compelled at all. It's not like not that there's that many people listening, but like I didn't feel like the people need to hear from us. They need to point them to Jesus. Like I think these things are true.
Agreed. But here's the thing: is like this is the inherent issue with social media, like especially Christians on social media. When you get to the point where you believe the people want to hear my voice, boy,
But
you're in a rough spot.
It's not just that Kevin is arguing that they want to hear their voice. Feels like Kevin is arguing that they represent, by being Christian artists, represent what is truth in the kingdom of God, and like what Yahweh says about this stuff. And so with that gigantic influence that whether or not it was cheaply bought is still very much influence and is still truthfully a platform, like regardless of how they got it, if they've got 10 million people that'll see a tweet, do they not have any kind of perspective that says like, hey, you know what truth is? Your whole life is and your career, all these different things, your platform is based
That's
off
not what
of,
they're using that platform for anyway.
That's-
Like they have
right,
no track record of using that platform for that.
right. And I
It's,
think
hey,
Kevin's
we're
saying,
coming to your town.
Yep.
This is what it costs to get there. We're excited to be there. Not, hey, we're murdering children. Hey, we're exploiting kids under the age of 18 for our own desires. Hey, we are burning money that we could use to feed everyone in this country easily. And so, like, they're not using that platform for anything else. But when Donnie runs into some trouble, now we're like, where's your outrage?
Agreed. I'm not saying that this is the right place to say that it should have started.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So I think his whole premise is wrong, I guess is what I'm getting at.
But if this is where it does start, do they have any kind of responsibility to use that platform for something like a call to prayer, or recognizing that, like, we are a part of a nation that calls itself one under God, whatever you want to look at it. I'm not trying to set up what their tweet would be, but from the perspective of they are Christian artists that are representing to a large group their worship, their relationship with God, all these different things. They have this platform, and all Kevin is seeing is the regularly scheduled tour tweets versus, hey, this is a time when something has the eyes of the public. Something has the ear of the public in this situation. Why are they not using that platform that very much is real and there to utilize that influence to call something to light that is in everyone's faces right now?
Yeah, I think it is. I think both of these things can be true in some ways. So, like, it's fair. Well, yeah, if you have an influence, you should probably it matters how you use it. I think that's true. It is. But just because you have influence doesn't mean you're a puppet either, right? So, like, I don't dance just because you told me to dance. Like, who is Kevin to say, as an example, of which situations require my thought? You could be like a person who's super wise. It doesn't mean you speak at every moment. And so I think my guess is that one of the things he seems to be cautious of is that someone may be withholding some speaking on something for fear of alienating. That would be cowardice, and he should speak about that.
Right.
Like, as an example, you should be able to recognize that violence, not even just political violence, but violence against someone in the way that was perpetrated against Donald Trump is wrong and condemnable, regardless of what you think about his politics, his mouth, or his hairstyle.
Yeah.
It's irrelevant. And so, like, we should easily be able to come to a group condemnation.
Yeah.
This is the most best hand-holding opportunity we have. We're not doing it. Even then, people are still sniping at each other on something we should easily agree on.
The thing is, it would have been just as ugly if someone had went after the other guy.
Oh, sure.
Right.
And it would have been
Agreed.
just as ugly on the other side, right?
Yes. So here's so I think that what he's I think cautious about is that if someone comes out who's a Christian artist and condemns something like this, have they waded into, like, are they holding back because they're afraid of wading into a political problem? This is interesting because actually the guy Chris from Ren Collective talked about the Palestine-Israel conflict. I want to say like 6 or 7 weeks ago. Like, they put something on their Facebook page to raise money to help. Specifically, it was Palestinians who were like unhomed, homeless and stuff, based upon some of the war that's going on in that territory. And they're like, "Look, we don't care. These people need help." And I know there's a lot of complications going on in here, but, like, we're not going to not say it just because we're wading into some sort of debate that you guys are talking about. Like, we're talking about a specific thing here, and we're not going to not say it. And so I think it is a touchy thing when it feels like you owe someone your voice, because frankly you would never stop talking. To Mike's earlier point, there's no end of things of which would benefit from someone voicing them, and so I think it is not. It's fine to say we shall not withhold calls for how Jesus looks at the world, that His will might be done here.
Right.
You should never withhold that. I don't care what actions are going on around it.
Agreed.
His will shall be done upon Israel and through Israel. His will shall be done upon Palestine and maybe through the Palestinians. Like, you should be involved in all that kind of stuff. And if you're withholding that because you're worried about someone might go, oh, they're in support of Israel, oh, they support Palestine, that's wrong. And I'm guessing that's what he's getting at.
I was going to say, wasn't that not his whole thing by saying that at a bare minimum, there should be a call to prayer in this perspective of recognizing that,
Once
like,
again, like just because of this fulcrum of the idea is where I'm struggling with.
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Like,
it's right. It's
yeah, no, I
it's
agree.
whether
This
you
should
have
not have been the
also
start
like
of it.
it's I really feel like there's once again because of the platform conversation, like I don't know how to validate whether you're the world's pastor.
yeah.
right?
That's
See what I'm
that's
saying?
where
Like,
I'm agreeing.
why-
I don't think it's
Why are you like just because you own or have access to a universal platform does not necessarily mean that you are called to be the world's pastor. Like God sets up leaders locally and within your area and with people-to-people relationships to pastor you. So I don't feel a responsibility to speak into every situation to everybody, every church body's behalf as if I am the world's pastor. Right? Like just because you play worship tunes does not make you a pastor, preacher, or teacher. It doesn't necessarily give you a rank or a responsibility within the Big C church to act like you are those things. Now, if God has called you to those things, if God has touched you Billy Graham style to put you in stadiums and preach to the masses, then I think you better damn do it, right? But like just because you travel around the world singing worship tunes that can help people does not put you your spiritual gift at preach, teach, get in the middle of things where you don't belong there.
Would you say that there is anyone at any level of influence that is not responsible for talking about who Jesus is to the people that are around them in influence?
in all situations at all times.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think there's plenty. Yeah.
There are situations in which you should not be sharing gospel stuff, should not be sharing what God is doing, should not be sharing what God's truth is.
Let
all
me
that
ask you
stuff.
this question from a practical perspective. You worked a job at a corporate location today.
Sure.
How many people did you invite to Love and Serve?
I think I was wrong in that. I think that there's more to be done.
I'm not saying whether there's more to be done. I'm saying, does it sound right to you that you should at every moment should be speaking about those
I'm not saying at every moment.
That's right.
I said at every level of influence. I'm not saying 24/7 you need to be talking about God or
That's
you're being.
so that's the question.
But that wasn't my question. My question is, at what level of influence are you not responsible for speaking out about Christ to the people around you?
Oh, sure. Like
So if the answer is there's no level of influence in which you should be responsible for speaking out in it for the truth of Christ and what we know about him because of our relationship with him, why does it matter if you have 100,000 people on your Instagram or if there are 3 people that come to coffee with you on Tuesdays?
yeah, I don't know
In
what
both situations, you're not the pastor.
But that's not what we're
of that-
talking about right
You're
now.
not
that
the
doesn't-
pastor of that group in that situation.
yeah,
and I
that's
don't
not-
think.
But that's
I don't
not what we're
think-
talking about.
I don't think that Kevin is saying you need to pastor all of the people on your following. He's saying literally, I didn't even see something at a bare minimum, which was a call to prayer.
About a
And
specific instance, yeah.
Yes, right. And I disagree
That's
with
not just a blanket gospel that you're talking
Agreed.
about.
I disagree that the perspective is we should always be on this specific situation is when we should be calling out a call to prayer. We should always be doing that. What he's saying is this is in your face. You can recognize that this is a situation in which we could have done this. 8 hours after it happened, we follow all these people. We only saw 4 of the giant group of people that have huge platforms, all these different things doing that. And Kevin seems to be saying, in this specific instance, because I can call that out as something that's relevant right now in your face, you did nothing.
The gospel is relevant in your face all the time. Right? To your point, like if that's what you're saying, which it sounds like that's what you're saying. Like
yeah,
this,
agreed.
So like what's the difference? Why is today's events the fulcrum when like if what you're saying is that you have a platform and responsibility and the gospel's good all the time, they never share it ever.
Agreed. And
Any of them.
I don't think he's arguing that this is the only instance you should be doing it. I think he's saying this is the one we're talking about right now. He can't influence anything that's happened before this, and he's not condemning that with this specifically, which he probably should be. But I don't think he's saying because former President Trump was just shot at, you need to do a call to prayer based off of this. And never again, and don't consider this ever again. It's just this isolated incident. I think he's talking about the fact that relevantly, we can look at this specific situation and go, here is what I've recognized in the last 8 hours. Why are we not doing better here? And how can we do better going forward? He may not have said that specifically, but I doubt he was saying in this micro interaction specifically, you should have done a call to action and never again. And I don't think he's saying you've been great up to this point, and here's where it happened to where I got angry about it. I think he's taking the relevant situation that exists today and then using that as a spotlight to go, you have a platform. You could have done something. and you did nothing. Again, you're absolutely right. This should not have been the straw that broke the camel's back. Like, this is definitely not the first thing they ever should have used their platform for.
This is just not a position of influence I even care about or require of the people he's talking about. Like, at all. Do I see that to be their responsibility, a worry whether they do or whether they don't? They do not make that level of influence in anybody's life, honestly, let alone what you're talking about here. So, like, I think it's a bloviated thought that merely because you own a platform that you have to speak or not speak to anything, right? Like, what's the point of even having one if, like, you're basically a puppet for Kevin, who, like, is basically going to say you're using it irresponsibly. It's not your platform, Kevin.
Well,
so you know what I'm saying? Like, so at the end of the day, I don't require this of my worship bands.
No, and that's fair. And to call out the puppet of Kevin thing, I don't think, and you both have kind of represented that. I don't think they're, or the dance monkey or whatever, you do what I say. I don't think Kevin is saying, because of my glory and who I am, go do this. I think Kevin is trying to represent that, like, this is, if you have influence, you know Jesus, you represent that as the biggest part of your life. Do you not have any responsibility to use this platform, this connection that you have?
I think there's a difference between
that?
Views and likes and influence.
Yeah, right.
I think influence is a stretch.
But again, if they tweeted it, all of their followers would see it.
That doesn't equal influence. That just equals sought.
Presence. Yeah, I was much more specific than that. It's like the question is like based upon a moment, am I required to speak to it because Kevin thinks that it's important? That's what we're talking about. And so, to your earlier point, one of the things that was going through my head is that, like, you were talking about kind of levels of influence, whether it's all the people who might be your fans on Instagram and the people in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
Would it not be, if it feels like it's appropriate at any time to use your level of influence, then it would put on the table that, did I go door to door in my neighborhood and knock on the doors and go, hey, did you speak out at all on what happened to the president today? Because you may not have a giant influence, but, like, did you try to get out of your house and go talk to your neighbors? Because that's the same. It's a level of influence.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. And so do I find that reasonable, that I might go door to door and check up on the people in my neighborhood and see whether they have spoken out on their reaction to the assassination attempt to Donald Trump? No, I wouldn't do that, because I don't know that they even have a thought that's worth sharing to anybody. I don't. So, but you're willing to, like, I can see in your eyes, you're like, dismiss them because, well, it's just your neighbors. But, like, you just told me that the levels are the same.
No, I'm dismissing it because I don't think that that's what they're trying to do with their platform. They're not going door to door and saying, "Hey, did you speak out about
That's
this?"
their influence. That's the influence.
The situation that Kevin is talking about is they have access to talk to,
just like this guy,
interact with, right?
Yeah.
Talk to, interact with. From what he said was, at bare minimum, call to prayer, as in we need to seek God.
No, I know what it means.
In this situation, right?
Yeah, you don't have to restate it. I get it. Get to the comparison.
But you're stating it wrong. You're saying that you should go to your neighbors and say, have you spoken out about this? That's not what I said. What I said is, do you go to your neighbors and go, hey, we need to be seeking God about this, and we need to be making certain that we're prayerful in these moments. And, like, this is a crazy situation in our faces. Like, the right way to ingest this and to understand it is to go to God.
That's what he wants.
It's not going to people door to door and going, hey, how are you using your influence? That's not what I said.
No. That's what he said. That the thing that the artist could speak out is the thing that you're talking about. The thing that he's saying to the artist is going door to door and asking them to go door to door.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about Kevin's influence here. I'm talking about Kevin's critique of the influence of the artists.
I'm confused. I'm flat out confused.
Me too.
Okay.
Kevin is saying.
Okay, I don't think we need to sort it out. Roll me up at the end of the day. Your position is, it feels like you agree that because they have what you would consider influence, they should be using it at moments like these.
To call people to pray for.
Lots of moments, not just specifically this one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I would maintain that I think that overprescribes what to say that it is their responsibility to speak on any given moment that someone believes is of consequence. I mean, 2,000 people listened to our podcast last week. That's not nobody.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel compelled in the moment for us to have posted something?
No, because I don't feel drawn by that specific situation, but we're also not just sitting here not calling people Jesus.
Well,
like, I would say if we were sitting here doing nothing towards God, I would say, yeah,
their
that's a
worship
waste.
tunes. Like, they do it with their music.
Right, and what I'm not saying is that they're useless in this situation. I'm just saying that, like, is there, and again, I didn't even say that they were wrong for not doing it. I was trying to represent what Kevin, I believe, is saying is if they have an influence, which is whether it's fake or came from whatever, they literally would post something and 120,000 people would see it. Is there any responsibility on them to then use that sparingly, however you want to look at it, under God's direction, great, whatever you want to call that?
That's a big if.
I think that, again, I don't know. I don't think God called every musician and said, "Hey, by the way, tweet." Like, that's not what I'm saying.
That's what Kevin's saying.
I think Kevin is commenting on the fact that he barely saw anything. And so I think he's trying to say, like, it's crazy to me that out of all of this influence that we've got and a very divisive situation and something that is scary to people, something that is breaking of a people, I saw almost no one say anything about it.
I agree.
Okay.
I'd stay out of it.
Okay.
I
Then
see-
that's your opinion. Okay.
Yeah, I find that they would have no responsibility to be in the middle of that, nor do I think that God would be calling them to be in the middle of that. So, yeah.
Okay. Cool.
All right. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, or if you bailed on us about halfway through. I could understand that too. 515-517-0085. Mike, let's give out some advice.
Ready, dear life from the path? I've been having an issue lately involving my mom.
Oh,
It feels
gosh.
like she isn't really my mother, but someone who thinks we're best friends. It's like she never really grew out of her high school days, and I'm almost 30. I'll have days at work where she texts me to tell me about her day or her recent struggles, or she asks me to find furniture that would interest her. I feel awkward answering her questions and wish I had a parent to talk with about some of my issues instead of feeling like I'm the more mature one. She's telling me that only I know what she likes when I know her taste changes on a dime. She doesn't speak to me the way most mothers talk to their sons. It's more like how two teens at school talk to each other. I know she has been through a lot. It's not that I want to ignore her. I don't know what to say because I don't know how to talk to this person anymore. I'm tired of feeling my stomach sink every time I have to respond to her. Please help. Son, not friend.
Hold on. Okay, I want to say something real quick. One, I was thinking at first that it was her daughter, and that would have made a huge
Yeah.
difference. If it's her son, I understand a little bit where he's coming from,
Yeah.
because men are naturally just less mature, just a little bit.
Harsh. That's a cold thing to
Just
say.
1 second.
I'm so sorry.
1 second.
I'm still insulting. Go ahead.
But also, I feel like that's kind of a him problem. Just a little bit. I understand, like, how he wants to be able to, like, talk with his mom about his problems. Has he tried that, though?
That we don't know.
Oh, he did that. Yeah.
So wait. So
I'll
if I-
send him a text, Layla.
Can you
Well, do you know what I mean?
can you
'Cause, like,
translate to his advice? What would you tell him to do?
ask his mom.
Uh,
Like, I know that she is, like, whatever, living her life, not through him. Do you know what I'm trying to say here?
Like,
Dad.
so are you saying she's trying to live her? No, I'm not quite. I
No.
guess I'm not quite following.
No, but, like, she is acting like he's her best friend,
Yes.
right? But has he tried actually talking to her about his problems, or has he just been thinking about how he doesn't want to answer her
Okay.
problems?
I understand. So because he can't answer the question, one of your pieces of advice sounds like, hey, why don't you try talking to your mom about this particular thing and engaging her in this manner as a friend or whatever, so that the relationship seems more mutual, as opposed to you feeling like you're just putting up with your mom doing this.
Yes, but also then through that he can, like he was saying, he wants to share more of his problems or whatever, like he would a normal mom. Then he can still do that.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Ella, do you have some advice?
Yes, I didn't know how to.
Just fire it out, Al.
Okay. I think. Okay, I kind of speak to Layla's point. Like, I would kind of understand it if it was like her daughter saying that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've never really heard a mother ask her son, like, "What kind of furniture do you think I'd like?" I mean,
Is he an only child?
Hey, man, you guys are seem hyper focused on the fact that this dude can't pick out upholstery.
Sorry.
okay. Anyway, sorry.
Like, let's say he's a competent upholstery man.
Yeah, he picks out pastries.
He's
fine.
pretty-
Are you
upholstery.
saying that it's a weird thing for a mom to say, son, pick out my furniture for me?
No,
I
I
don't
don't care
know.
at all about that.
Okay.
Okay. What I'm not really understanding why he thinks that she's acting more like a best friend, because I feel like all the things that he listed are like regular things like a mom would
Yeah.
say. Like, if my mom like texted me about her day, then I'd be like, "Oh, okay, sick, sweet. I'm gonna text you about mine."
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
that's a totally normal thing.
It seems like a nice mother son whatever relationship.
Yeah,
like she's
it's-
trying to keep it like not boring. It was like, come get your lunch or whatever. Meet
Yeah.
me for dinner. You know, she's like trying her best to like
Yeah.
keep their.
Like it seems like a regular relationship.
Yeah.
and
So
I
he
don't-
might
I
have
don't-
a false perception, like what he's perceiving as being odd isn't really odd at all. He's being odd.
Yes.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
it's his mindset that's like she's
Mhm.
acting more like a best friend and not like my mom. I don't want that in person. I'm like, well, she is act. What do you think a mother should act like?
Yeah.
How do you think she should act? Like, not tell you about her day, be a bit more distant. Like, some moms are very distant to their kids, and I'm not saying like he's a lucky fella. I'm just saying like that's normal mother behavior because I don't see anything wrong with it.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think it's a perspective thing.
Boova.
I echo a lot of that actually. I think that there's an interesting perspective as I'm listening to his listing off things that she does that seem immature, and it was like she asks my opinion on things when her opinion changes all the time. Like if her opinion changes all the time, that doesn't or even its preference of like furniture doesn't necessarily mean she's immature just because she liked a chair one day and then a week later she was like, I don't know if I love that chair anymore. Like, that doesn't mean immaturity to me.
I'm a little like I have a question. When he says that, does he mean like she changes her likings to like his? So
No.
like if he said I like that couch, then she would be
Okay,
like,
let me
"Oh, yeah, I
reread
like
a
that couch
sentence and
now."
see if this puts us in perspective just a little bit, okay?
Okay.
So, I'll have days at work where she texts to tell me about her day or her recent struggles, or she asks me to find furniture that would interest her.
Oh, I just heard it wrong. Never mind.
And then come down to the next paragraph. She says she's telling me that only I know what she likes when I know her taste changes on a dime.
Doesn't that show how much he knows? That
Well,
he
so
knows
here's
her
the thing:
taste
if
changes
I'm
all
at
the time?
if I'm at work, and my mom is not at work, right? And she's texting me in the middle of the day while I'm at work trying to do work things, and she knows I'm there, and she's like, "I need you to find some furniture that I like to show me so I can pick out furniture."
We'll
like,
ignore her for a few minutes.
Well, you got some time on your hands. Why don't you do that? I will do work things
yeah, he
because
can,
I'm at work.
One of us is actually earning money right now.
Yeah.
And it is not you.
So I'd like just to bring just a little bit of age on this man, right? Like if you're doing things, people know that you're at work. Like it's okay to text or call somebody when they're at work, except for stupid reasons, right? Like, will you find me some furniture options to look at? I will be at home awaiting your response.
I think that we can admit that she's
no.
a little bit.
Clingy,
Zany and odd.
mama bear.
No, like she doesn't really think about the consequences of what she's doing.
or
like,
other people.
whatever, you know what I mean. And so I feel like yes, we can understand that, but I also think that he can just be patient with her and be like, hey, I'm kind of busy.
I don't
can do
disagree.
it later.
How much furniture does she need?
Agreed.
That is a good question.
Like once a week, she needs a new couch.
I'm hoping this
table.
is an example of many things, not just like a one-time
Right, yes.
incident. Because like sometimes a mom will be like, "Look, I don't understand all the things that are going on. Half the stores I used to shop at are closed, right? Like, can you help me like try to find some furniture or help me pick it up on the marketplace?"
What
Yeah,
if he's
is she,
like an
like, wanna-
interior designer?
So this one, it's gonna hit home weirdly for me, only because I wonder, and you will not know this. Nobody can have the answer for it, but I wonder if it makes me think like Dad's not there, like
Oh, yeah.
Dad's,
I had that same
Dad's
thought.
not around anymore.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And so when I love my mother, it was a very weird time after my dad passed away. There was a blending of relationship types between son and friend that started happening and I started seeing a side of my mom that I'm sure she had offered to my dad, and he helped keep that in check, that didn't exist any longer.
Mhm.
And so these kind of things aren't that far-fetched to me, to be honest, is like, hey, I want to talk to you, let's go grab lunch kind of stuff, like getting really close, what I would have called at the time clingy, especially, I was 18 at the time, and so it would have been very different if I was closer to 30 probably, so I could certainly see that kind of thing happening, and that's definitely a hard thing to walk through, is a reorienting of that relationship if she no longer has dad there,
Mm-hmm.
It
and
kinda-
have a husband there and have that kind of relationship. So it's hard. It's hard on the son. Like it's very hard
Do you
on
think
him.
she's like seeking comfort then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yes. I think that's a great way to put it.
It kind of what if if the dad wasn't around anymore, maybe if if the dad left at like a younger age for
Sure.
the son, then I feel like she would try to offer friendship because she doesn't know how you are gonna cope with this. Like she doesn't know how you're gonna react. So she's kind to you. Like I'm not saying mothers are abusive otherwise, but
What the heck?
I don't know.
You're good, Alex. Keep going. Keep going.
Anyway, but I feel like she's just like my son will probably need a friend right now because he's.
Okay.
What if he?
I bet he wants to look at furniture for me.
What,
Yeah.
Well, what if he's like? What if he feels like he doesn't belong with the other kids because he doesn't have a dad to play catch
Yep.
with?
Okay,
I see what you're saying.
He's 30.
It sounds more like it sounds less like altruistic on mom, where she's trying to check on son and spend more time with him, and more like mom's insecure and doesn't have a real solid standing, and this is the avenue for her to get any kind of safety or peace or whatever you want to call that, and that is rough on a kid.
Yeah.
Very rough on a kid.
Here's what I say. But part of my advice to him would be, look, I know you're 30 years old, but your mom does not know this is her first time parenting a 30-year-old.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, like, yeah, she's been your mom for 30 years, but, like, your life is changing, and
That's a good point.
your relationship changes with it. And so, like, be gracious with her. Tell her boundaries.
Sure.
She can't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, that she's, like, wiping your behind for a decade, and then all of a sudden, like, you make your way into your 30 years old, and, like, you have to be able to tell her how much is okay, how much is not. Hey, don't try not to call me during work hours unless it's important, or text me and know that I'm not going to respond
Right.
to that
Yep.
unless I get a free moment or I get to the evening. And like, just say it out loud and help her. It's not okay to be frustrated with her if you're not communicating with her
Yep.
on what's
Frustrated in
good
the
or not.
silence and not actually speaking.
Yes, exactly right, Ella. That's right. And so I would start. It's not clear to me whether you've actually communicated these things to your mom, and so I would start there.
Yep.
Yeah.
And give her a chance to work with, and not boundaries like you're fencing your mom off. Like, she just literally doesn't know. She's not working. She's not at your place doing
Right.
your thing. She doesn't know what your job is. She probably doesn't understand like how big of a deal it is. My wife still doesn't quite understand when it's okay. Layla will call on the Alexa while I'm on a meeting. It'll just ring and go,
I
hey, Dad,
forget.
lunch is ready. I'm like, okay, thanks, everybody. Lunch is ready. And so, you know, I would at least start there. Make sure you've graciously, kindly talk to your mom about, you know, what do you want to do, and places where you feel like, you know what, Mom, I'm not picking out furniture all the time. Why don't you find them, and I'll look at them and affirm
Sure, yeah.
your wildness. I would do that.
Send me the stuff you find on Marketplace, Mom.
Yep.
All right. A secular says, you are not going to change your mother. She is who she is. Needy, emotionally immature, and determined to depend on you.
Hey, I reject that.
Rude.
Yeah,
Wow,
that's
okay.
rough.
Emotionally independent. That's mean.
Emotionally immature, El.
Never mind.
Be outraged.
Still mean.
Let's
Just
be
saying.
outraged at the right things.
Outrage was right.
I like
Phrase
Ella's
was right.
bounce. She's like, oh, yeah, okay. Still, though, I hold on to it.
Emotionally independent, eh? Find codependency and live there.
I don't actually. I was talking to a guy this morning, a friend of mine, and we were thinking about, like, you know, what you do for work, and like, I'm not half over. I'm not even like, I've not even worked half the amount of time that I'm going to work, and that's only if, and that's, it gets worse or longer. Even if you go, look, I'm not retiring at 65 or 67. The reason I would retire at 65 or 67 is because I don't really want to work anymore because I don't like my job. I'm only doing it because it pays my bills. But like, if you liked the work that you did, you wouldn't have any problem doing it for another 20 years. And if that was the case, I'm only like a third done with working, which means it's still plenty of time to find work that you feel like is valuable and does good things into the world. And so, as a comparison, no, your mom is not an old dog who can't learn new tricks. Like, she can change, she can grow, she can learn, and you can help facilitate that.
Yeah. You can't change your mom. She's a terrible person, according to secular.
Rude.
You can, however, change the way you react to her. A step in the right direction would be to restrict the time she can contact you during work hours. Another is to tell her you are not comfortable being her interior decorator, and you should find someone with more time to spend with her. And last, remind her that you are her son, not her contemporary, and that you would like to be able to talk with her son to mother instead of as buddies, because you already have enough of those.
Now, if she's not being crisp with her language, she's being rude. There's no reason to go like what were the three things? One, was it limit or restrict?
restrict the time she can contact you.
Yeah, no, just like again, that feels like I got a hard cut her off, and like I will not hear phone
No
calls.
calls
between
after
this hour.
8:30, ma.
Right? No, just go. Hey, I need you to think about this. I know you're probably not thinking about it, but like I'm mostly on meetings, and so
Yeah.
I can't get back to you quickly. Just maybe wait on it. Right? That's different than restrict her. The second one was, I'm not, Mom. You're making me uncomfortable. Helping you with your furniture choices. Come on.
No, here's the thing: is like you have, yeah. I disagree with the assessment of the mom, first of all, but second of all, like, mom can call you during work hours, just don't answer.
Don't answer.
Right? Mom could text you, but just don't look at it. You were like, man, you don't want to say, look, like you will only interact with me in this very specific way, but like, I suppose my general rule is like I am not in charge in who gets a hold of me, but I am in charge in who I allow to distract me. And so if it's time to allow distractions, then I will look at text messages and take phone calls and all is well. But if it's not, then I don't. And like whether I choose to do it or not do it is all based on me. Those are my boundaries to set.
Mike, that's weird. Every time I text you after 9 p.m., it says like your number's unavailable.
Yeah.
Oh.
Boom.
Is it on Do Not Disturb?
Yeah.
He's restricted me.
I see almost everything Live from the Path guys talk about in the morning because they, especially Ben and Buva, are up till the wee hours. And I am not. So, like, I see this stuff at 5:30 the next morning. And then I answer it then because they're still sleeping. Huzzah. All right. That's it. That's the advice.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Let's do one more. We'll be out of here.
Last one.
Yep.
Dear Live from the Path.
Why do you sound so out of breath? You're like, Dear Live from the
I'm sorry. When you get your own radio show, you can introduce it however you want. Until then,
They give them away for free on the internet, Al.
stop
Sure
being
do.
so
It's real easy.
emotionally independent.
Dang it.
Codependency.
Dear Live from the Path. My girlfriend, Jessica, thinks I've cheated on her because I didn't come home right away
You did.
after being given the day off. My grandparents were away on vacation. When they go away, they want me to check on the house and bring in the mail and newspaper. On this particular day, I decided to drive by, did what needed to be done, and then spent half the day there. I even took a nap in the recliner.
Nice.
Living the life. Now Jessica insists that I cheated when I was simply hanging out at my grandparents'. To add to the situation, we have a daughter on the way, and Jessica does not want me in the delivery room. She's blowing everything out of proportion.
Yeah.
She was in a 9-year abusive relationship, and her ex cheated numerous times.
Yep.
So I'm not sure if her actions stem from her past relationship. Really, dude? You're not
Oh,
sure
come
that's where
on,
it's coming
man.
from? Okay, you need a woman.
Your pregnant girlfriend who was abused and cheated on for 9 years, and you wonder, does her past have anything to do with this?
Just napping on a recliner. I'm having a hard
She's
time
such a
understanding
buddy.
why she's doing this
No, you're
with
not.
a baby on the way when I've been nothing but faithful and good to her.
Okay. Is that? Oh, sorry.
That's it.
Okay. Listen here.
This guy's a little full of himself.
Listen here.
He did this to himself. He's misbehaved and mistreated this woman by taking action that has caused the seriousness of their relationship to be codified
Yep.
with this baby coming.
Yep.
If she was coming out of a 9-year abusive relationship, first of all, you have to have patience for helping someone see the world differently. They spent 9 years looking through the lens of a man that cannot be trusted, who would misuse her, mistreat her. And so all the worries that she had about that man during those 9 years, she was right.
Yep.
So frankly, her punch card is clicked off 10 and she gets a freebie. And so when you go out and you don't do that thing, she's still batting 99 for having said that guy's cheating on me.
Yeah.
And so here the problem is that you showed no self-control or care for her in being cautious about how you progress that relationship. And now you've put her in the position where she has not had a chance to heal from those types of things and see the world differently or in a way that is what you would represent as the reality. And now you're paying the price for having not done that.
Yep.
And so I know that doesn't sound like advice, but like you need to recognize the position you've put her in. And frankly, you have this coming to you because you were not cautious. And that sucks. Now, the problem now you have is because you've done this, you have to stick with it. You've made a commitment to this woman by your actions. You are bringing a child into the world, and you bear responsibility for that. So, I mean, you're going to have to get some patience and then go take it to the craps table and win at 100x, and then use that in working through this. Every time you believe she's overreacting, you're going to need to walk slowly through that and help her and keep reorienting her to the new reality of what she's involved in. This would have been a lot easier if you'd not have done this when you had a baby on the way. But like, I mean, them's the breaks, homie. And so here's the deal: I don't want to hear your complaints at all.
Yeah.
I get it. She's accused you of something that you didn't do. I understand that, and that's unfortunate. But that is a product of the relationship that she was in. Whether she is part of that or not, I don't know. But like either way, your time to fix that without the consequences that you're running into were before you had a baby with her. So
Yep.
Yeah. I to back up Ben's point, even if you are not guilty of these things, like if you love this woman, you will go out of your way to help her
Yep.
learn how to trust you. And this has nothing to do with you. And it gets so hard because all you want to do is defend yourself because you're being characterized as a person that you're not. And you hate that. And you're like, how could you think I'm the kind of person that would cheat on you? You know exactly why she thinks that. Because she's the kind of person that's been cheated on. Right? And Ben's right. Like, she should not be pregnant by you. If you loved her enough, you would make a commitment to her that does not get broken before you even consider taking that level of intimacy from her, right? But you didn't, so that you got screwed up. Now, for your particular situation where she has accused you of cheating, I would ask as many questions as I could ask and then produce as much proof to try to help her see that that was not true. Like, who did you think I cheated with? First of all, I want you to put Life 360 on my phone. I want you to be able to know where I am all the time. Sometimes you're going to call and I'm going to be somewhere you don't want me to be, like at the gas station. But I'm going to allow this. And so that's going to be exactly the level of trust I want you to have. Also, I'm going to change the passcode on my phone to something that you know.
Yep.
So you can look at it anytime you want to. That's the kind of intimacy I want with you. Now, who do you think I cheated on you with? I think you cheated on me with Amy. Okay. I would like for us to go meet Amy, or I'll have Amy come over here and vouch for the fact that this did not happen. Maybe she's got some more evidence that I don't have that proves it was not her. But like, I don't know how to show you because I don't have enough to show you. But like, just be like, I am willing to walk through all of your accusations and all of your condemning me, and I love you enough to take that and give you some space and give you some grace and live in a way that I shouldn't have to, because I love you enough to prove to you that I did not do this thing. And that is your posture, young man. And you got a lot of work ahead of you, and you have a lot of humility coming, because no one likes being accused of things they didn't do. But unfortunately, you're going to pay for the sins of the last guy. And you got in that boat as soon as you started dating this woman. Mm-hmm. And that's just true. Anybody else?
No, pretty much summed it up.
Okay. Secular says, it would have been considerate to have called your pregnant girlfriend from your grandparents' house to let her know you would be returning later than expected. I don't know, dude. That's a horrible advice.
I thought he said that he had the day off.
He was given the day off. He probably got half rain day.
Yeah.
Probably pours concrete or
So
something.
she had no reason to expect that he was going to be home.
That's right. And so he thought, what a sweet half rain day. I'm going to go sleep in my grandpa's recliner. This is a dude idea. This is pretty standard, right? And you also don't call your wife or your pregnant girlfriend at the time because she's 8 months pregnant and hasn't slept a wink in probably 3 months, is super hungry, needs help cleaning the house. And you think to yourself, I just want to sleep in this recliner for a couple minutes. Ha ha, this is going to be a great day. You don't get to live that life, friend. But I understand where you're at. It says, not having given her a call was a mistake, but nothing more. Her over-the-top accusation of infidelity may have stemmed from a hormone imbalance caused by her pregnancy.
Yeah, that's most likely, sure.
Oh.
Wow,
course,
okay,
yeah.
that's a strong lead.
It could
9
also, as you stated, be the result of her disastrous 9-year romance with her abuser. Because she has trust issues, it's important you consider couples counseling with her. As to wanting you absent when your child is born, she may have said it to retaliate for your imagined cheating, or to spare you the sight of her in pain. I don't know about that second part.
Okay,
The truth is, though, if you really had cheated on her, I mean, I don't know if I'd want you in there.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
right. That's
That's a-
reasonable response.
Yeah, you're in your ultimate indecency, and then you got this creepo in there. Like, come on, dude, I don't want you in there for this. So, like, yeah, Ben's right. You bought this farm. You did a thing you shouldn't have done. You took things you shouldn't have took, and then you didn't put in near the work that was necessary to make her feel loved and trusted, and that she's in a relationship that she can trust. And that should have probably if it took 9 years to do, it's going to take a dang long time, pretty close to that, to undo. Yeah. And you put in, sounds like all of 2 weeks, and then decided that you were going to use this woman for the thing that you wanted, which makes you, my friend, a schmuck.
You've been listening live from Path. Thanks for hanging out with us this evening. We very much appreciate it. Give us a call on the Life from the Path complaint line, 515-517-0085. Call or text. We'd love to hear from you. I think outstanding items we have on the complaint line is you were to possibly send us an emoji, the one that you constantly, or a Giphy, that you send your family that they say, hey, we wish you'd knock it off. You
Business
can send
fish.
it to us.
It's
Business fish. Yeah. And so we did get one, and I'll be honest, I responded with one of the top 3 or 4 gifts. I don't know why I'd used it or what context, but it was there, and so I sent it back to you. You're welcome. Anyway, hit us up on the complaint line. Also, any number of items on the show might have rubbed you the wrong way. Where we're theologically wrong, I'd love to hear about it. Where you have stories to add, go ahead and text those over. And anyway, we appreciate you hanging out with us on Live from the Path. In the meantime, let's see. Next week? I don't know. It's going to be dicey for the next few weeks. People are in and out here, but we'll see what we can do to put a show together. In the meantime, be faithful in the means. God will handle the ends. You are listening to Live from the Path.